Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Facebook, Twitter, Google were in the hot seat this week as members of the British Parliament, a subcommittee, conducted an unprecedented hearing in the U.S. to dig deeper into the problem of misleading and deliberately false news. The MPs grilled top execs from the world of social media.
Has Facebook ever done an analysis of how profitable fake news or the deliberate dissemination of disinformation has been to the company?
I'm sorry, I can't answer. I know we've looked to understand how false news is manifesting itself. I can't say that we've looked specifically at how much money that would have been gained because it wouldn't be a relevant factor in our decision to remove the content.
The social media execs acknowledged the problem but made it very clear they still think of themselves as technology companies, not media companies. But MPs pushed back hard and served up a stark reality check.
What actually happens when the journalistic landscape is so decimated and that basically people don't know what to trust? Is there a sense of responsibility that you have in order to ensure that we have that trusted news?
You have all of this information. We have none of it because you weren't showed it to us.
Doesn't this just indicate just how powerful you have become and what a Pandora's box, to use my colleague's friend earlier, you have opened up?
So the deliberate use of your platform to distribute absolutely false and defamatory information can continue in election time, according to what you've just said.
If you wanted, from what you said, to spread a lie halfway around the world before the truth got out, Twitter would be a pretty good medium to use to do it.
Now joining me, Hadass Gold, CNN media politics and business reporter. Hadass, great to see you.
Great to be with you, Frank.
Well, full disclosure first, you were there covering the story. I was there because it was at George Washington University, and I was also somebody who testified in that group, mostly talking about the sort of credibility and the stake of traditional media in all of this. But as far as the social media execs, Hadass, were concerned, it was extraordinary testimony and quite far-ranging. What was your main takeaway?
The main takeaway was the obvious frustration you could hear from the MPs. You heard these in that clips you just played. They see the social media companies and the internet companies as responsible for does not align with what these companies think that they are responsible for. There was a really explosive moment where the chair sort of yelled at a Facebook executive who said that he did not feel as though they were responsible if foreigners were buying political ads to try to influence elections, which is illegal in the UK. And the chair, Damian Collins, just went, if this was a bank, a bank is held responsible if there's money laundering through the bank. You can't blame just the person who did the money laundering. The bank is the platform. And you could just feel the tension between the two of them, that the social media companies don't feel that they're as responsible as much as the MPs do.
Well, one of the other things that was really interesting, too, that was emphasized is that, in the United States, these are all American companies, and so they are based here and they reflect American culture and American law, to include the First Amendment, freedom of speech. But there's a different sense of that with more restrictions in Europe and elsewhere in the world, and there's this collision of cultures in many ways. I thought that was a very interesting thing as well.
It's very true, and in Europe and European countries, and I spoke to several of these MPs, and they know that because they have, you could say, more power to regulate in Europe, they know that the U.S. often looks to them and sees what kind of regulations they put through. Now, the U.K. hasn't really issued any sort of really harsh regulations on social media companies like Germany has, which has these really harsh hate speech rules that, they charge the social media companies if they don't take down hate speech in a certain period of time. But they seem to be heading that way. And the social media companies recognize, I think they do now, that they need to start acting in conjunction with what the governments are looking for, because otherwise they're going to face some harsh regulations, because these MPs see these social media companies as these sort of wild, unruly, unresponsible, irresponsible types of places that the fake news and dangerous, honestly, content they see it as is just spreading like fire.
Hadass, some of those from the social media companies that were there at least acknowledged their concern and said we're looking into it in one form or another, and they are taking steps, some of the social media companies. But was there any indication, any glimmer that anything is going to change as a result? Because as you say, the concern is growing.
The social media companies are starting to take certain steps. YouTube announced that they're going to start labeling content that comes from state-funded outlets, so you think a place like RT, but that also ropes in places like PBS and BBC. Facebook did announce that they're going to start doing more labeling for political advertisements just to give some more information, but it's clear that the only changes are coming because they are feeling pressure from government and from the public.
Gold, thanks. Great to see you. Appreciate it.
I've been getting